live from the drama-free true crime destination. It's your Wednesday check-in with truth, talk, and the stories that won't let go. This is the Midweek Bite. And a good Wednesday evening, everybody. Welcome to the Midweek Bite here at the drama-free true crime destination. Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw here. So good to have you aboard. Welcome one, welcome all. This is the Midweek Bite, and I've got 8 stories you can't ignore this week. 8 of them. So to kick things off right, it's now time for my opening statement. Just give me 1 second. Alright, here we go. Tonight we gathered not just to recount headlines, but to confront the stories that demand our attention. The ones that reveal the best and worst of our justice system, the fragility of life, and the choices that ripple far beyond a single courtroom. These are not just cases. They're mirrors. They reflect betrayal and premeditation, survival and silence, innocence lost and systems that failed. 8 stories, each with their own weight, but together they form a picture of a society wrestling with truth, accountability, and the cost of justice. This is the Midweek Bite, and these are the 8 cases you can't ignore. Alright, let's get cracking. We're gonna kick things off with a verdict watch. We're going to kick things off with a verdict watch in Florida. In a Florida courtroom, the truth finally broke through the lies. A husband accused of drugging and strangling his wife, staging her death as a tragic accident, now facing the verdict that will define the rest of his life. Tonight we open a case where love was poisoned, trust was strangled, and justice had to claw its way to the surface. This is the dose and choke murder trial, and we're about to get the verdict in that case. So I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna take myself off the screen, and you're gonna get to hear that verdict in its entirety.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding the jury has reached a verdict. When they come in, we'll have that verdict published by the clerk. Again, I want to remind everyone to stay completely quiet, okay? We're going to all stay completely quiet regardless of the verdict until court is adjourned and everyone has left the court. And then you're free to do whatever you want, okay? But in the courtroom, we all stay quiet. Let's bring the jurors back, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding you've reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have the foreperson hand that to the bailiff. Thank you. Why don't I have the clerk publish the verdict?
Verdict. We, the jury, find as follows as to count one of the charge. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. So say we all do this 19th day of September 2025.
You decide what the jurors polled.
Yes, Your Honor, please.
Madam Clerk, please poll the jurors.
Billy Butler, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Andrea Thayer, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Hester Hill, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Trent Mansell, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Kimberly Fry, is this your verdict? Yes. Robert Speck, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Erica Fleck, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Andreu Garcia, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Christopher Myers, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Michael Donaldson, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Kelly Cribb, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Catherine Natal Martinez, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration in this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room, except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. That, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to go back to the jury room, and I'll discharge you in just a few moments, okay? The bailiff has your phones and all the other electronic devices.
And there at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you see the verdict listed again, guilty of first-degree murder. But it also asks the question: is this justice? Hang on tight, guys, because in just a matter of moments, you're gonna get the sentencing in this case, and we're gonna get our answer to that question: is this justice?
Okay. I have, the credit is 686 days between November 3rd, 2023 and September 19th. I guess you add 687. It's 686 plus 1, 687. Anything you want to present for sentencing?
Your Honor, I have advised my client of his right to speak. He has advised he does not wish to make a statement or speak to the court, so we do not have anything to present from it.
Is that correct, Mr. Swilley? You don't want to make any sort of statement?
Yes.
I will not hold that against you anyway. However, much of the sentence here is required by statute. In this case, you're going to be adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree and sentenced to life imprisonment. There is a, if you do, you have to pay court costs, and then you have to pay $100 cost of prosecution. Let me go back. Is the state requesting the $100 cost of prosecution?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Based on the state's request, I will grant the $100 cost of prosecution. Anything else for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You have 687 days credit. Anything else I can miss? Good luck to you, sir. You have 30 days to appeal. Do you want to have an attorney appointed for purposes of appeal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you need to talk to your attorney about that. Do you believe you can, were you appointed or hired?
I was hired, Judge.
Okay.
I met with him in the back. I had him complete an application. So I will prepare the notice of appeal related documents, and then I will be moving to withdraw and asking the court to appoint a public defender.
Swilley, I want you to raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm that you make the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you
Yes, I
God?
do.
Can you afford to hire an attorney for purposes of appeal?
Yes, sir.
I take it you have no income at this time?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I take it the house was sold and gone?
I don't know.
Okay.
Ceiling's gone.
All right. I'll appoint the public defender for purposes of appeal. All right. Good luck to you, sir. You have 30 days to file an appeal. We'll be adjourned.
There you have it. Herbert Swilley has been convicted of first-degree murder and the death of convicted of the death of his husband. I'm looking at beaten and strangled before the body was moved to stage a fake crime scene. He was immediately sentenced to life in prison without parole following the verdict. Swilley was arrested on November 3rd, 2023 for the murder of 59-year-old Timothy Floyd Smith. Couple had been married nearly 8 years when Smith was found dead in an Ocala apartment in March 2023 when he failed to show up for work. Deputies found Smith deceased in an apartment with a dark ligature mark on his neck and blunt force trauma to his face and genitalia, according to the Marion County Sheriff's Office. That's Marion County, Florida, not Oregon. An investigation revealed that Smith was given a massive dose of diphenhydramine. That's an ingredient found in both Benadryl and Unisom. That is 30 times higher than the normal therapeutic dose. Prosecutors allege Swilley then strangled Smith and fractured his cervical spine. Prosecutors allege Swilley killed Smith to access his life insurance policies totaling $333,000. Swilley also posted on GoFundMe announcing Smith's funeral and reportedly raised a couple $1,000s. So the question asked when the verdict came in, when he was found guilty, was that justice? Honestly, with the sense of life in prison without the possibility of parole, with only credit for 680 days time served, I'd say yes, because given let me factor in if we factor in Herbert Swilley's age, I would hazard to guess that where he is literally where he will die. Even if this wasn't a life sentence, if the sentence had gone beyond any 20-year sentence, that likely would be where he would die. So honestly, I would have to call that justice served. You do the crime, you gotta do the time. Next up, we have a little bit of a shock factor for you. The sheriff in the case, the sheriff is describing how he took the suspect in the shooting of Charlie Kirk into custody. From online rhetoric to real-world violence, the suspect accused of targeting a political figure is now in custody. Investigators say a trail of evidence is as deliberate as the act itself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is more than a headline. It's a warning about how words can become weapons and how quickly ideology can turn deadly. Now, as as I prepare this article here from Court TV, let me prepare a little bit of scripture for you. Or at least my favorite part of it. It says clearly that death and life are in the power of the tongue. Now, having said that, I'll give you part of this, and I'm gonna go right to this this press conference. Washington County Sheriff Nate Booksby said he was shocked when he got a phone call from one of his former detectives on last Thursday. Last Thursday, let's see, this was the 20th. Oh, at least that's when the article was posted. He's saying he believed that he had the suspect in the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk with him. Brooksby explained his office's limited involvement in the case of 22-year-old suspect Tyler Robinson. He started by again dispelling rumors, again, circulating on social media that claimed Robinson's father was a deputy, some even saying he personally put handcuffs on his son. Booksby reminded the public that this was completely false. He said that there is a retired corrections deputy with the same first and last name as Robinson's dad, and that these rumors have led to people harassing the former deputy, who had no involvement. Brooksby then outlined how his office was involved. He clarified that although Robinson turned himself in at the Washington County Sheriff's Office, his agency was merely assisting by taking the suspect into custody until the lead investigators arrived. Brooksby said he got a call at around 8 p.m. from a retired Washington County Sheriff's Office detective who worked there for many years. Now, what we have here is a good 30-minute length press conference, so be ready to hear everything that went down.
At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with Contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" question mark. Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" exclamation point, "Catch!" exclamation point. Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow," and a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who has worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah. But I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, we'll now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play, and we will play that role, and we will lead out for the federal government. But Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilized these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Mangione arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver it to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI, and we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake Field Office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that has stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
Thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere, and every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even, especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those. And specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here. And that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. This bad stuff happens. For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had happened here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last two nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes, because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country. And he said, I'm not optimistic. He said, I hate optimism. Like, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. And he said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He says, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you might have. I cannot speak to that right now. Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. That's I think that speaks for itself. Please. There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor, you indicated that you've been communicating with a friend on Discord about the gun. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
We do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
Do you believe you acted alone?
Yes. But the investigation is ongoing. Yes, so right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family and a friend helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. Those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him in. Please, I'll go here. I can't share any more than what I've already shared. Yeah. So we obtained the gun. The gun was found here. I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then and we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
Is he talking with authorities, and did he discuss a motive?
I'm sorry? We don't have any information that would lead us to believe that. Yes, in fact, it was just released. Yes. We, I can't answer that right now. Yeah, thank you. Over here. I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history. Yes. The question is, what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history, or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look, I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s, and having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets. We are not wired as human beings, biologically, historically. We have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together, the Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion tonight, last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be, I mean, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. But this is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here. I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, Governor. Could you just clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct. Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here. Yes. Yeah. So I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County, in the southernmost part of our state. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I would just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that basically we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So, we would anticipate then that early next week, those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working, the county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
That was the press conference after the arrest of Tyler Robinson, the man accused of shooting and killing Charlie Kirk. Now, this is a little bit of a breakdown as to what had happened as far as taking Tyler Robinson into custody. I mentioned a good portion of this. From what the charging documents say, Robinson's mother said she saw the photo of the suspected shooter in the news and thought it looked like Tyler. She showed her husband, Robinson's father, who agreed. She called Robinson to ask him where he was, and he said he was at home sick, and had been home sick on that Wednesday as well. Robinson's father said he thought the photo of the suspected murder weapon looked like a rifle he had given to Robinson as a gift. He then asked Robinson to send him a photo of the rifle. Tyler didn't respond. He then talked on the phone with Robinson, who implied that he was planning to take his own life. His parents then convinced him to meet up at their home in Washington City. The court documents say that in conversation with his parents, Robinson implied that he had shot Kirk. They urged him to speak with a family friend who was a retired deputy, who then helped convince Robinson to turn himself in. So that is part of that. That's pretty much what went down as far as how Tyler Robinson was taken into custody. So all the other rumors, all this other this and that, let's lay that to rest now. Number one. Number two, I'm not jumping in talking about this case on a political front. I'm talking about this on a crime and justice front. What Tyler Robinson did, he should face justice for. I will stand by that. That will be my hill to die on. As I said the case before this, you do the crime, you must do the time. I don't care if it's Charlie Kirk or Charlie the Tuna. You do the crime, you got to do the time. Next up, here's one that surprised me a great deal. A grand jury declines to induct a woman who admitted to shooting her father. All right, get this. She confessed. She pulled the trigger. And yet, the grand jury said no. Behind that decision lies the history of abuse, a tangle of family trauma, and a justice system willing to see shades of gray where others see black and white. Tonight, we covered this story and we asked the question, when does survival outweigh the law? A Kentucky woman who has been released from custody after a grand jury declines to return an indictment against her for the death of her father. 22-year-old Summer Atkins was arrested in June after allegedly calling 911 to tell a dispatcher she had shot her father, according to a report from Scripps News Lexington. Upon arrival, police found 62-year-old Jimmy Harvey dead in a chair from multiple gunshot wounds. Atkins was arrested and charged with one count of murder. 1 week later, her defense claimed in court that Atkins shot her father because she was allegedly sexually abused by him as a child and believed he was sexually abusing a family member. That's a report from WYMT. While the grand jury is sympathetic to the family of Mr. Harvey and does not condone people taking the law into their own hands, it is our belief that no jury would convict Ms. Atkins given the circumstances here. That's according to the grand jury report obtained by Mountaintop Media. Following the grand jury's decision, Floyd Circuit Court Judge Johnny Ray Harris issued an order on August 15, 2025, directing that Atkins be released from custody and that her bond be released due to the bondsperson or bond assignment, according to the documents reviewed by Scripps News Lexington. A motion filed in the case cited failure to indict as the reason for dismissal, noting that the 60-day period had elapsed and attaching proof that the matter had been referred to the grand jury. So, she admits shooting her father due to abuse that she suffered as a child, plus the belief that another family member was being abused by the same man. So she admits shooting him, yet the grand jury refuses to indict. Now, honestly, on the one side, you don't want to take the law into your own hands. I grant that. But on the other side, like we asked at the beginning of this segment, when does survival outweigh the law? Not just for yourself, but for somebody else, like someone within your family. This is one of those cases that would leave anybody baffled, because it certainly has me that way right now. Well, all I know is Summer Atkins is a free woman at this time, and I wish nothing but the best for her and her family at the moment. Next up, we have a little bit of a preview. This is the Baby in the River murder trial. Tennessee versus Brandon Isabel. 2 days old. That's all the time Kennedy Hoyle had in this world before her father allegedly ended her life and her mother's. In a crime that defies comprehension, the baby's body has never been found. In Tennessee, jurors now face an impossible task of weighing justice against the grief that will never be complete. I believe this case is either going through jury selection or this trial is already started. Yeah, we're already in day 2. This is coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. A Memphis man is standing trial in the murders of his newborn daughter and her mother. Brandon Isabel is facing multiple charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Danielle Hoyle and Kennedy Hoyle. An investigation began when an officer found Danielle's abandoned vehicle with a broken window on February 1st, 2022. Her body was found nearby with an apparent gunshot wound to the head, according to an affidavit. Danielle's family told officers she was meeting Isabel with their 2-day-old daughter Kennedy. Investigators allege Isabel admitted to luring Danielle to an intersection and shooting her in the head. He admitted to taking Kennedy and tossing the child into the Mississippi River. Isabel allegedly told detectives in a recorded interview that he killed Danielle and Kennedy because he didn't want the child. Oh, I got a little bit to say about that portion. And that's a report. That was from a report from WREG. After the murders, he allegedly went to a Walgreens to buy gifts for another girlfriend. Wow. Kennedy's car seat was found abandoned near a Walmart dumpster. That's according to CBS News. Kennedy's remains have not been found. So much, that's a lot to cover, but if you want to get a recap of the first couple of days' events, go to YouTube or get the links from Court TV. But as far as my commentary on this particular case, if you're gonna break up, I said this many times, fellas. If you're gonna break up with a girl, break up with a girl. Break all ties. But then again, we also gotta factor in that the tie-in is they have a daughter, 2 days old. You don't want the child, that's fine. Give that child to someone who does. I can express that any further than that. But instead, you're gonna throw the baby into the Mississippi River, and the 2-year-old, the 2-day-old, no, not 2 days, no, not 2 years, not 2 months, 2 days old. And because you don't want the child, you throw the child into the Mississippi River. For that alone, in this guy's opinion, for that alone, that's life imprisonment. That's gotta be the worst kind of abuse, the worst kind of murder anybody can commit. A 2-day-old baby. Oh. Brandon Isabel, you better have a good lawyer working your case, my friend, because I don't think this is gonna look good for you. Speaking of bad dads, we got the dad in the hot car death of his daughter, who had a history of abuse complaints. Let me take you back a little bit. A child dies in the backseat of a car. But apparently the tragedy didn't start there. It began with warnings ignored, complaints dismissed, and a system that failed to protect. Tonight, we confront the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the danger is known, and still nothing is done. Go to Marana, Arizona. The father charged with murder for leaving his 2-year-old daughter in a hot car had a history of child abuse complaints with another child. Marana police body cameras caught Christopher Schultz as he waited to hear his 2-year-old daughter Parker would survive. She didn't. Investigators say she spent almost 3.5 hours strapped in a car seat in temperatures well over 100 degrees, while her father sat in the living room drinking, playing video games, and watching pornography. Parker Schultz died in July of 2024, but records from the Arizona Department of Child Safety disclose a history of child abuse complaints against Schultz that dates back 11 years. The complaints apparently relate to an older daughter not related to Schultz's current wife. DCS reports ranging from 2014 to December 2020 shows Schultz accused of slapping the child, leaving bruises, and failing to help the girl manage her diabetes. I'm going to stop the article right there, and I'm going to jump out of the shot, and I'm gonna take you right to my friend Julie Grant with this opening statement spot.
Welcome back. In our spotlight this morning, the Arizona father who will soon go on trial for the hot car death of his little girl. Now we're learning Christopher Schultz has a history of child abuse complaints, that he allegedly referred to an older child of his as a mistake. Schultz is accused of leaving his 2-year-old daughter Parker in a hot car for hours last July while he was watching porn and playing video games. He's charged with first-degree murder for Parker's death, and his defense team has filed a motion to try to delay the trial, but the judge said no. Here's Schultz talking to officers right after Parker was discovered in the car.
How long was she sleeping in the car out there?
I want to say it was no more than 30, 45 minutes. And I don't think her air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I had checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when I went back out, the car was off.
Records from Arizona's Department of Child Safety show a history of child abuse complaints made against Schultz that date back 11 years. They involve an older daughter of his. Now, this daughter is not from his current wife. DCS reports ranging from 2014 to the year 2020 show that Schultz was accused of slapping the child, leaving bruises on the child, and failing to help the girl manage her diabetes. Now, all of these complaints were ruled unsubstantiated, but the child did move to the care of her birth mother. Let's talk about this. Let's bring back in former homicide prosecutor Melba Pearson. Welcome in the former Georgia director of the Department of Children and Family Services. He's also an attorney, Tom Rawlings. Tom, let me start with you on this, please. What do you make of these unsubstantiated claims that were brought against Chris Schultz?
Honestly, I've read and I'm not sure why they're unsubstantiated. This is a long history of abuse against children. This man, if we licensed parents, he would never have been able to care for a child. And there's some really good organizations, especially in Arizona, doing good work. The Center for the Rights of Abused Children in Arizona is one of the best in the country. It really, to me, it looks like part of the issue here is that Arizona and DCS over the course of a number of years just really failed to see that this guy was a danger to children and should not have been able to have custody of children, because this is the kind of thing that happens when you have people who are negligent, or even, I think in his case, allegations were physically abusive against children. It's really sad.
Right. Boy, Tom, appreciate your insight on that. Chris Schultz told officers that he left his daughter Parker in the car because she was asleep. Let's take a listen to that clip.
She was sleeping in the car, and I had the car on. But it has a sensor where every 30 minutes or so it'll turn off if you haven't moved. I swore she was in the house playing with her sisters like she always does.
Okay, Melba, let's talk about whether we may see a plea deal here. So apparently his attorney made a comment that his client might be open to settlement before the trial begins. We know that he declined a plea offer to second-degree murder. Do you think there's some room for resolution here?
I think there is, because he's pretty much in trouble if he goes to trial. I don't see a scenario where he's going to be found not guilty, because common sense would dictate if your child is asleep and it's hot outside, you don't leave your child in the car. Like, you take the child into the house where they can sleep in their bed or in their crib or whatever the case may be. So I don't see any reasonable juror saying, oh, okay, what he did was reasonable. It doesn't make sense at all. So I see a conviction in his future. So it's either going to be the slow way by going to trial and getting a conviction at the end, or the faster way where he actually takes a plea and avoids going to trial.
Sure. I have another clip of him. This is body camera footage of him at the scene talking with the officers.
I don't want to feel like we're intruding, but we're going to have to stand by with you for a while. All right?
Is there a reason why?
So any death, we have to treat like a crime scene. I know this is extremely difficult for you. This is a normal process that we have to follow through with. I don't want you to be blindsided by anything, but that's what's going to be going on for right now, okay?
So I'm being treated like a murderer?
No.
I just lost my...
Not at all. I know that.
Tom Rawlings, I want your reaction to that video we just watched. What do you think, please?
Julie, I've dealt with many cases in which parents made the mistake of forgetting their child was in a car, okay? This guy intentionally left his little child in a car in July in Arizona, and then plays the victim. It's sort of like the guy who kills his parents and then says, "How can you charge me? I'm an orphan." I don't know if he's just that sociopathic, or whether he simply is just too stupid to know what he's doing. Honestly, this is the kind of situation where I really don't understand why this guy was ever allowed to be around a child. This is one of the worst cases of all. It's not even an accident. He intentionally left that child in the car so he could go apparently drink and watch porn, and then he's surprised at the results.
Great points, Tom. Melba, when we think about this too, I'd love to talk to you about the intentionality and the prosecution's perspective here, what to offer him. We know they were willing to say plead to second degree. He rejected that. Do you think it would be reasonable for them to go lower here, perhaps a voluntary manslaughter offer or something that's going to require a hefty period of incarceration, perhaps somewhat of a hybrid with a lengthy period of probation to follow? What do you think would be most reasonable to get justice for this little girl, and also recognize fairness and interests of justice in coming to an agreement, if at all possible?
Of course, Julie. I mean, I could say if I was the prosecutor in this case, I would not go lower than second-degree murder. I don't see any reason to do so. The evidence is strong. The evidence is clear. As my colleague just stated, there are cases, I believe there was one out of Georgia, where the gentleman left the child in the car and went on the train and went to work, and literally was at work and was like, oh my gosh, I think I left my child in the car, and freaked out, tried to come back and rectify it, and unfortunately the child passed away. So that to me is more of a situation where, okay, manslaughter or something along those lines, because there's a genuine error that occurred there, right? And sometimes, we may have a lot of things in your mind. I could see how that happens. But this was intentional. He knew the temperature. He knew his child was in the car. He knew the danger his child was facing, and yet he picked his own narcissistic needs over the needs of his child. There is no permutation, Julie, that I would be giving him. I mean, they're better than me. I probably wouldn't have gone lower than first-degree murder. He could have pled to that first, and we could have, talked about the time. Mm-hmm. But if it was me, he's pleading to that first. But be that as it may, plead a second, but I would say not any lower than that. Mm-hmm. Not any lower than that.
I hear you, Melba. Excellent points you're making. This guy, it looks to me like he's probably going to have to go to trial. I mean, it just, and as you both have said, these prosecutors have every reason to be confident in their case. It's him who should be worried. I thought he should have thanked them. I thought second degree would be a generous offer and move forward, but You know, he's not my client, not my case, but we'll report any developments, and we're tracking this trial. We will be filming it when the time comes. Great talk with you both as always. Melba Pearson, thank you. Tom Rawlings, thank you. We'll see you both very soon.
Not my client, not my case. So says Julie Grant. Shout out to her for her coverage on this story. And it is amazing how these abuse claims can go and nothing is done. Going back to what she mentioned earlier, in 2020, the number of complaints accelerated. Investigators noted that in some cases they are investigating one claim when another comes in. DCS reports the child is considering suicide and notes reports of her being called names and treated differently from the other children in the house. There are also reports of the child being denied medication and psychological counseling. In all cases, DCS investigators said they did not see injuries or saw confirmation that medication and counseling had been provided. It ruled the claims unsubstantiated, but the child did move to the care of her birth mother. And to that end, I say thank God for small details. She don't have to worry about being she doesn't have to worry about being what's the phrase I want to use? Oh yeah, she doesn't have to worry about being treated like garbage, for lack of a better word, by another person who's supposed to take care of her. It's sad, and knowing what Schultes has done, and he's trying to fight that. Good luck, buddy. Remember, you left your child inside of a hot car for 2 hours. While you just went ahead and did your own thing. Whether it be video games, drinking, pornography, don't matter. You doing your own thing. And you can't use "I forgot" as an excuse. You made the choice. Now, one way or the other, you're going to have to live with it. Next up, new trial. We are going to Idaho for what is being called the Machete murder plot trial. Iowa versus Dakota Van Patten. Let me set you up. A young woman with intellectual disabilities is lured into a trap. A machete bought at Walmart. A plan carried out with chilling perfection. In Iowa, the trial unfolding now is a study in premeditation and a reminder that evil often hides in plain sight. Yeah, this one is already underway. An Iowa man is standing trial on charges he helped a friend kidnap and murder his girlfriend. Dakota Van Patten is charged with first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping in the death of 20-year-old Melody Hoffman. Her body was found on February 18, 2024 by Lily Lake in Amana. A criminal complaint said she had been strangled and had numerous stab and slash wounds. At the time of her death, Hoffman was dating McKinley Loosma, who was friends with Van Patten. Investigators were able to determine the men were with Hoffman when she died by tracking activity on her iPhone and Apple Watch. When confronted by investigators, Loosma admitted to kidnapping Hoffman with Van Patten and physically beating her. Video surveillance footage from a local Walmart allegedly showed two men purchasing gloves and two machetes before they took Hoffman. Video surveillance footage from a convenience store showed them purchasing cigars after Hoffman's body had been left in a lake. Investigators said Hoffman's glasses and a towing rope, believed to have been used to kill Hoffman, were found at Van Patten's home. Loosman was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison last year, according to KCRG. During this trial, the jury was shown a photo from Loosman's cell phone that showed Hoffman crying with duct tape over her mouth and a bloody nose. That's according to a report from the Gazette. An investigator testified that a selfie of Van Patten wearing Hoffman's glasses the night was also recovered. A medical examiner testified at Loosman's trial that it was possible that Hoffman could have been pregnant or recently had a miscarriage at the time of her death. A third man, Logan Kimpton, is facing a charge of conspiracy to commit forcible felony for allegedly purchasing gloves and a machete with Loosma and Van Patten. He will be tried separately at a different date. And as I've mentioned, this you can always catch up on each day's testimony by going to courttv.com if you haven't seen it already. We're already through day 5. Day 6 of this trial will continue. No, excuse me, I'll take it back. Day 7 of this trial will take place on tomorrow. And trust me, there's so much to cover in that one because of so much that may be left uncovered. Hopefully this trial will get to it and with it the truth. Next up, Luigi Mangione's lawyer is fighting the death penalty in the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. And that's my echo giving me the weather report for tomorrow. Anyway, a CEO gunned down in his own driveway. A suspect facing the ultimate penalty. In court, the fight isn't over. Isn't blah, blah. Let me try this again. Take 2. A CEO gunned down in his own driveway. A suspect facing the ultimate penalty. In court, the fight isn't just over guilt. It's over whether states should take a life in return. This is where corporate power, personal vendetta, and the politics of punishment collide. New York. Luigi Mangione's lawyers urged the judge to bar federal prosecutors from seeking the death penalty in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, arguing that authorities prejudiced his case by turning his arrest into a Marvel movie spectacle and by publicly declaring their desire to see him executed. A Marvel movie spectacle? Really? And who is Luigi Mangione supposed to be? Fresh from a legal victory that eliminated terrorism charges in Mangione's state murder case, his lawyers are now fighting to have his federal case dismissed, seizing on U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi's declaration prior to his April indictment that capital punishment is warranted for a, quote, premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America, end quote. Bondi's statements and other official actions, including a highly choreographed perp walk that saw Mangione led up a Manhattan pier by armed officers, and the Trump administration's flouting of established death penalty procedures, have violated Mr. Mangione's constitutional and statutory rights and have fatally prejudiced this death penalty case, his lawyers argued in a court filing. Mangione's defense team, led by former Manhattan prosecutor Karen Friedman Agnifilo, implored U.S. District Judge Margaret Garnett, an appointee of President Joe Biden, to correct the errors made by the government and prevent this case from proceeding as a death penalty prosecution. Bondi announced in April that she was directing Manhattan federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty for Mangione. It was the first time the Justice Department said it was bringing a capital case after President Donald Trump returned to office January 20th with a pledge to revive federal executions, which his predecessor Biden had put on hold. Mangione's lawyers argue that Bondi's announcement, which she followed with Instagram posts and a TV appearance, showed the decision was based on politics, not merit. And they, said her remarks, tainted the grand jury process that resulted in his indictment a few weeks later. Trump, who oversaw an unprecedented run of 13 executions at the end of his first term, offered his own opinions about Mangione, despite court rules that prohibit any pre-trial publicity that could interfere with a defendant's right to a fair trial. Think about Mangione. He shot someone in the back. As clear as you're looking at me or I'm looking at you. He's shot. He looked like a pure assassin, Trump told Fox News. There is a high bar to dismissing an indictment due to pre-trial publicity, Mangione wrote in their 114-page filing. However, there has never been a situation remotely like this one, where prejudice has been so great against a death-eligible defendant. Federal prosecutors have until October 31st to respond. Mangione is due back in court in the federal case December 5th. 5 days after the start of pretrial hearings in his state case. No trial date has been set for either case. 27-year-old Mangione has pleaded not guilty to state and federal murder charges. Now, surveillance has shown a masked gunman shooting 50-year-old Thompson from behind on December 4, 2024, as he arrived at a Manhattan hotel for his company's annual investor conference. Police say delay, deny, and depose were scrawled on the ammunition, mimicking a phrase used to describe how insurers avoid paying claims. Mangione, the Ivy League-educated scion of a wealthy Maryland family, was arrested 5 days later in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which is about 230 miles west of Manhattan. Authorities say he had a 9mm handgun and a notebook describing his intent to whack an insurance executive. Mangione's lawyers contend the simultaneous prosecutions amount to double jeopardy. In the federal case, Mangione is charged with murder through the use of a firearm, which carries the possibility of the death penalty, as well as stalking and gun offenses. The judge in his state case threw out the terrorism charges that carry the possibility of a mandatory life sentence without parole. But Judge Gregory Carroll rejected the defense request to dismiss the state prosecution entirely, saying the double jeopardy argument is premature because neither case has gone to trial or resulted in a guilty plea. The state case will proceed with other charges, including an intentional murder count that carries a potential punishment of 15 years to life in prison, with the possibility of parole. Unlike the federal system, New York does not, I repeat, New York does not have the death penalty. Mangione has attracted a cult following as a stand-in for frustrations with the health insurance industry. A few dozen supporters, mostly women, packed 3 rows of the rear of the courtroom gallery at his hearing in state court. Some wore green, which is the color of the Mario Brothers video game character Luigi, and one woman sported a Free Luigi t-shirt. Honestly, I think this could end up tipping the scales of justice in favor of Mangione, just because honestly, Donald Trump. No. Let me stop. All of a sudden, if I go ahead and finish that comment, I will turn Bethea'S Byte Reloaded back to the original Bethea'S Byte, and I'm not doing that. All I can say is this could this could end up very well tipping the scales of justice, and it could tip the scales of justice in favor of Luigi Mangione. If that does, we're not going to hear the end of it from the administration. Finally, we have our final report of the evening, but we also have some breaking news to go with it. Late breaking news. Now, this was supposed to start off with me saying about officials find remains believed to be Travis Decker, who is wanted for his daughter's murders. Months on the run, accused of killing his own daughters. Now, in a remote stretch of land, the search ends with the discovery of human remains. For the families, there is closure, but no comfort. We close tonight with the haunting truth that some wounds never heal. Now keep in mind, this was the 19th when this was reported. This is out of Leavenworth, Washington. Authorities say they have found remains that they believe are Travis Decker, an ex-soldier wanted in the deaths of his 3 daughters in the mountains of Washington State. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office said in a statement that it was processing the site with the help of Washington State Patrol Crime Scene Response Team. They will follow up with DNA analysis. While positive identification has not been confirmed, preliminary findings suggest the remains belong to Travis Decker, the statement said. The 32-year-old has been wanted since June 2nd, when a sheriff's deputy found his truck and the bodies of his 3 daughters, 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia, at a campground outside of Leavenworth. 3 days earlier, he failed to return the girls to their mother's home in Wenatchee, about 100 miles east of Seattle, following a scheduled visit. Decker was an infantryman in the Army from March 2013 to July 2021 and deployed to Afghanistan for 4 months in 2014. He had training in navigation, survival, and other skills, according to authorities, and once spent more than 2 months living in the backwoods off the grid. More than 100 officials with an array of state and federal agencies searched hundreds of square miles, much of it mountainous and remote, by land, water, and air, during the on-and-off search. The U.S. Marshal Service offered a reward of up to $20,000 for information leading to his capture. Last September, Decker's ex-wife Whitney wrote in a petition to modify their parenting plan that his mental health issues had worsened and that he had become increasingly unstable. He was often living out of his truck, and she sought to restrict him from having overnight visits with their daughters until he found housing. An autopsy determined the girl's cause of death to be suffocation, according to the sheriff's office. They had been bound with zip ties and had plastic bags placed over their heads. Now, that's where I was planning on closing. Then I've got this breaking news that it is official. This is official. Travis Decker is dead. Here is the information I got. Alright, while I'm leaving you all with the headline there, I'm going to give you the information that I've got here. Okay. The U.S. Marshal Service has confirmed that Travis Caleb Decker, the Washington father accused of murdering his 3 daughters, is deceased. Court filings from the U.S. Attorney's Office state that the marshals have advised that Decker is dead. Remains and personal items, including clothing, bracelet, and chewing tobacco, were found near Grindstone Mountain, less than a mile from where the girls' bodies were discovered in June. While DNA testing on the bones is still pending, federal authorities have moved forward with a declaration of death, and prosecutors are seeking to drop the arrest warrant. Once again, Decker had been on the run for nearly 4 months after allegedly suffocating his daughters, 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and Olivia, 5, during a visitation. His disappearance sparked one of the largest manhunts in Washington state in recent memory. Now, so the declaration is that Decker is dead, but that still leaves closure. What of that? That still leaves the families with a lot of grief. And with that, this ties right into my closing argument. Because grief in something this tragic. A lot of these stories that I presented to you are that tragic. Is there such thing as closure? Maybe for some, not so much for others. You let me know what you think. In the meantime, it is time for my closing argument. We've walked through verdicts that expose betrayal, trials that test the limits of justice, and tragedies that remind us how fragile protection can be. From a poisoned marriage to a baby never found. From ideology turned violent to families torn apart. These cases are more than headlines. They are calls to conscience. And tonight, we close with the confirmation that Travis Decker is dead. The man accused of suffocating his 3 daughters. He will never face a jury, he will never hear a verdict, he will never be sentenced. For the families, there is finality, but not justice. His death ends the manhunt, but it does not end the grief. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the haunting truth we leave you with tonight. Justice is never routine. Tragedy is never ordinary. And some wounds will never heal. These are the 8 cases you can't ignore. And frankly, neither can I. I want to thank you all so much for joining me here this week for the Midweek Bite. And, here we go again. I want to let you know I'm going to revisit these cases Friday, but I want to add a little bit of a twist on it. You've heard the saying that justice is blind, right? Well, this Friday, not only am I going to revisit these cases, but I'm going to dip back to the past to remind you all not only is justice blind, but justice is fragile. I look forward to seeing you this Friday for the final word. Until then, I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. This is Bethea'S Byte. And thank you all for joining me here at the Drama-Free True Crime Destination. Be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media and get your coverage of true crime news with no gimmicks, no drama, and no BS. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.